Guys, we've talked about different types of blood now: A, B, O, and AB. And we also said that any of these could have a positive or a negative from the rhesus factor that follows it. Well, we're really talking about clinical chemistry now, not necessarily forensic chemistry, but we need to go through this process because we're basically almost there, right? We might as well follow through with this notion of blood transfusion. Who can take what type of blood and who can give to what type of blood before we go on further into our forensic chemistry class. I mean, we're almost there. We might as well take a video, a few minutes to kind of talk about how this process works. That way you become more knowledgeable as an all-around student and graduate of our program. Okay, so let's say that we have A blood. And I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to throw in the rhesus factor yet, the RH. So let's just say we have A blood, and I need to know who can give me blood and for my body not to have a problem with it, not to see it as a foreign invader. Well, of course, if someone else has A blood, I could take that blood, right? And if someone had B blood, that would not mix with mine. So that would not work. Definitely, I could not do that. My body would go into overdrive and probably try to kill me. But if you had O blood, the O blood could be recognized as an acceptable blood form that your body could accept. And the reason is because it's not bringing anything extra over. You're going to hear me use that word over and over. The O blood has no A or B protein or agglutinogen on it. Because of that, your body does not recognize it as a foreign invader. There's nothing there. It's not bringing anything extra that wasn't weird or hasn't been there previously. So A could take A blood, but A could also take O blood. Now, here's the problem. We have to include the rhesus factor, the RH. And let's say that I'm RH positive. Well, I could definitely take A positive. That would work for me. And I could definitely take O positive. That would work for me as well, right? I mean, these are matches in the beginning, and if they both have the rhesus factor, then that's not going to be a problem because I have the rhesus factor already. So the question is, what about the negative forms of these? Could those work? And the answer is yes. This is A blood, and that matches A. This carries no RH factor, and that is okay because A minus is not bringing anything extra to the picture. And your body will accept that blood as an acceptable transfusion. O minus would be the same thing. O does not have A nor B agglutinogens on the surface, and it doesn't have the RH if it's O minus, so it's not bringing to the party anything extra that wasn't there before. And therefore, it is an acceptable blood for a patient or for someone who needs it. Okay, so the same story is going to happen with B. Go figure, right? So if I have B blood, well, of course, I could take B blood if someone gives it to me. All right, so that's not a big surprise, right? So, yeah, we got B. That will work. O blood would be the same way. There's no A or B agglutinogens on the surface. Okay, so let's fine-tune it. And let's say we go for positive. Well, once again, B positive or O positive will work. The question is, would B negative and O negative work? And the answer is yes again. Not a big deal. My B matches. This B minus does not bring anything extra to the picture. I know it's missing the RH, but your body's okay with that. The same thing with O minus. The O minus, your O blood cell has no agglutinogen on it, nothing extra, and the RH, nothing extra. So all four of these would be acceptable for a B positive. All right, now let's go on to our next one. And the next bloodline would be maybe AB. Same kind of concept here. You're not going to be surprised. We have AB that could be accepted. And what about O? Sure. There's no A's, no B's. It's not bringing anything extra to the party, but that would work. If this was AB positive, well, guess what, folks? AB positive will work here, and O positive would work as well. But you know what? AB negative would also work, and O negative would also work. Again, they're not bringing anything extra. All right. Now we have O. If I bring in A, it's not going to work. O has no A or B antigens or glutogens on the outside surface. So A is not going to cut it. If I bring in B, B is not going to cut it either. And then if I bring in O, that looks like that's going to be the only one that kind of matches, right? Now, don't forget, we also have ABs as well. And ABs, well, you know, this has no, well, what makes you think that we can take something that has both? It's not going to work. So O can only take O. I'm sorry. If you're an O, then your blood is very particular, and your body needs O in order for the transfusion to take place. If this was O positive, then this is O positive, or you could take O negative as well. But that's it. You get two choices. No more than that. Now, what we didn't do is we didn't go and talk about the negative lines. We always started with the positives. So let's do this again. But this time, let's focus on A negative. And we said, hey, A can take A, but it can also take O. Now, notice I didn't put ABs down before, and here's the reason. A can only take A or O. If B is present, it sends it crazy. And B is present, it sends it crazy. So that's why we didn't do those in the previous example. But this is the negative piece now. So in the other example, we wrote down two A's and two O's. One was negative, one was positive. The A works. The positive piece is the rhesus factor. That means that this A positive is bringing something extra to the party. You do not have RH present in your main bloodstream if this was you. And if you give yourself blood that does have the RH, your body will see it as a foreign object and it will try to attack it. A positives will not work. That also means that O positives will not work. So if you are the negative category, I hate to burst your bubble, you are very rare. RH negatives, 15% of the population, but you're going to be more limited on the types of blood that your body can accept. And if you're negative, you cannot have anything positive at all, period, in a blood transfusion. It doesn't matter if it matches like it did here with A and A. Who cares? That negative is going to cause you a problem. B's are going to be the same way. We'll just redo this again. We'll write all our possibilities down. And we say, hey, we could have B positive, B negative, an O positive, or an O negative maybe could work. ABs, though, don't. They have A as well. It's not going to work. But the problem is that these positives are bringing something extra that you don't have over here. And because of that, B minus can only accept blood from B minus and O minus. The same thing's going to happen with the AB bloodline. If you are one of those people, AB minus, well, you've got AB, two forms, positive and negative. O would also be accepted. And then we bring these into the picture and we say, well, here we have a negative. These are positives. We can't have those. We've got to cross those out. AB minus and O minus. I'm going to come back to this in just a second, though. I don't want to ruin the trend that we've got or the pattern yet. So that's why I'm holding off. And I'm going to talk about AB in a little bit more detail in just a second. And then finally, we'll get this O bloodline again, O negative. And the only thing that we could give these people are O positive or O negative. That's your only choice. But because this is negative, the O positive brings something extra to the table, and we have to mark it out. So O negative can only take O negative. So if you've caught on to what we have done, we've been explaining who can give blood to who. So here's the story. If you are O negative, this is you, you can give blood to anybody. Doesn't matter. You can give blood to A's, B's, AB's, O's, positives, negatives. Doesn't matter. Every one of those examples, we included an O minus as a possible answer. So if you have O minus blood, congratulations. You are what we call a universal donor. Your blood could be used for anyone at any given moment in time. Therefore, if someone was in an emergency, they were rushed to the hospital or to the ER, you do not have time to check their blood type to see what they are, then O negative blood will work every single time. You just grab a bag of O minus and away you go. The others, though, you got to be more careful with, except if you are AB. If you're an AB blood, in our previous examples, we wrote down, hey, AB and AB and O, and we have two versions, positives and negatives. If you are AB positive, you can take AB positive, you can take AB negative. You can take O positive, you can take O negative. But guess what, people? You could also take A positive, and you could also take A negative. The reason? This blood has A agglutinogens on them. Your blood also has A agglutinogens. I know there's B present, but A positive and A negative are not bringing anything extra to the party. And then if we go and take a look at our B's, B positive and B negative, the same story happens. I know we're missing A, but it doesn't matter. Your blood has B on it. Therefore, it can accept blood that has B on it. And because you're AB positive, you can take the B positive or B negative version. For that reason, all of these bloodlines can be given to AB positive people. And if you are AB positive, we call you a universal recipient. It does not matter what blood bag we pull out of our cabinet, we can hook it up to you, and your body will accept any blood from the 8 versions or possibilities that are out there. So the rhesus factor complicates this process just a little bit, right? And we saw that with our positives and our negatives. but O minus are universal donors, and AB positives are universal recipients. There's a schematic or a diagram that people often will draw for kind of a quick cheat sheet. They'll write O up here at the top, and O can be given to A, and O can be given to AB, and O can also be given to B. And AB can also receive from A, and it can also receive from B. We call that the blood triangle. I know it's not really a triangle. It's more like a square turned on the side. But there's a relationship between all of the bloodlines that you might run across. O, A, B, and AB. Notice the positives and negatives do not play a role in this diagram. We got to think about those a little separately, but they're there. And finally, before this video ends, what you're seeing on your screen right now is a picture of different types of bloods from different animals. So if you look in the center, here at the very bottom, this is your typical blood cell from human blood. And if you look at them, you can see that they are circular, they're round, almost spherical in nature, but little blobs, and the cell walls are very defined. But if you start taking a look at all of these other animals that are up here, I mean bird and cat and dog and horse and snake and frog and fish, you're going to see that they're not anywhere similar to what a blood sample would look like from a person. All right, so this finally gets back to the forensic crime scene. If I had something that was red and it looked like blood, how do we know if it's blood or not? And then how do we know if it's human blood? And if it's not human blood, how could we kind of predict what type of blood it was? Did it come from a dog that person had in their house? Did it come from some kind of random animal that maybe broke into the house, like a bear, and stole your garbage? You see those videos on Facebook all the time. But how do we know if it actually came from a person? And that's because one of the ways that we could tell, we know what a blood sample from a human should look like under a microscope. And there it is. You're seeing it in the center to the very bottom. So maybe one of the test questions that you might see with this course are different pictures of different blood cells that are looked at under a microscope like this one here that you're seeing now. And I will ask you to pick out the one that represents the human blood. And you can see that it fills up the majority of the screen. All of those are very pronounced circles with clearly defined walls. They are circular in fashion. You see them red, at least. That's a very good sign that it's coming from a person and not something else. One more thing before I end this video and we go on and talk about more blood chemistry is this whole concept that your blood type will define your personality. And here you go. If you are one of these people that are very into astrology and what is your sign, are you a Cancer, I'm a Gemini, then you maybe would connect your blood type with certain personality traits. And here they are up on the screen for you. This is typically what we would associate with. All right, so type O blood, the personality traits that we typically see with those people are natural leaders. They're very ambitious, they're very confident, and they're very sociable. Now, if you're type O blood, does that sound like it describes you? If you're type A blood, type A, again, typically comes from Asian countries. You're very conservative. You're very responsible. You're cautious. You're punctual. Don't let your blood type down. If you're type B blood, you're unpredictable, you're passionate, you're confident, you're impulsive. We typically say that blood type B thinks on impulse and thinks with their heart, not necessarily their mind. And then up in the top right-hand corner, if you're type AB, you are probably understanding, you're organized, you're rational, you're cool, and you can be compatible with everyone. All right, so just in case you want to travel down that pathway, there you go. And I think that this can round up a little bit of intro to blood, at least. But we need to talk more about forensics. What we've done so far is really just medicinal, clinical type of stuff, biology type of work. And we need to travel more on the forensic side of things when it comes to blood and blood chemistry. So that's what we're going to do in the upcoming videos. We're going to talk about maybe some forensics ways that we can detect blood and how they work and the reactions that make them work and what we can do in a laboratory when they're brought in. So don't lose me yet. It is a forensic chemistry class, I promise. We're slowly getting there.